Hey, good morning. Today's another one of our first fives. So, I don't know about you, but have you ever thought you knew something or wished you knew something or come to find out you know something that you didn't know before and you wish you didn't know it? Or maybe you found out something in a new way and it really changed your world. See, there are some areas of my life where I kind of choose ignorance. Here's what I mean. I like hot dogs. Now, not every hot dog. I like the Nathan's, like the good hot dogs. I know they're a little bit more money, but hot dogs are still relatively cheap. But here's the thing, I never want to watch the video on how hot dogs are made. I've seen those how it's made things. No chance am I watching the one on hot dogs because I'll probably never eat a hot dog again if I do that. Why do I want to ruin my life by doing that? So I'll just choose to keep eating hot dogs. Well, there's this scene in the Bible in Acts chapter 10, and it's a scene in which Peter, who believes he knows what God desires for him, and there's this scene, I'm just going to read it to you and then talk about kind of the way it changes everything in Peter's life. So it's Acts chapter 10, verse 9. About noon the following day, as they were on their journey and approaching the city, Peter went up on the roof to pray. He became hungry and wanted something to eat, and while the meal was being prepared, he fell into a trance. He saw heaven opened, and something like a large sheet being let down to earth by its four corners. It contained all kinds of four-footed animals, as well as reptiles of the earth and birds of the air. Then a voice told him, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." "Surely not, Lord," Peter replied. "I've never eaten anything impure or unclean." The voice spoke to him a second time. "Do not call anything impure that God has made clean." This happened 3 times, and immediately the sheet was taken back to heaven. Right? In this scene, Peter is seeing all these foods, and if you go back and read about the dietary laws of the Jewish people, you find there were all kinds of things they didn't eat because they were considered unclean, i.e. hot dogs. But they didn't eat all these things, and God says to Peter, "Peter, don't call anything I've created unclean. It doesn't matter what you think about it. I've said it's good, and so it's good," i.e. hot dogs. And so what we begin to find is that Peter's hearing these words, and then there's a scene, and before this there's a guy named Cornelius, and he sent some people to get Peter. And Cornelius is not a Jew, which makes him a Gentile, which makes him unclean. And so Jews and Gentiles do not mix. And in this scene, what we see that happens here is incredible. These men show up, and then they say these words to Peter. "We've come from Cornelius the centurion. He's a righteous and God-fearing man who is respected by all the Jewish people. A holy angel told him to have you come to his house so that he could hear what you have to say." Did you catch that? Peter is going to end up going to this guy's house, and these next lines I think are crazy. This is not the way that if I were you, I would respond to someone else. Peter says this when he gets to Cornelius' house. "You are well aware that it is against our law for a Jew to associate with a Gentile or visit him. But this is where it's important. But God has shown me that I should not call any man impure or unclean." Peter was ignorant to the reality of what God actually sees in the world. God sees all people as reflections of his divine image, but sometimes you and I, either through ignorance or through our own decisions, don't. But this is where God's Spirit can guide us, or even the voices of others can guide us to a place we begin to see the world differently. And the Spirit speaks into our life and says, "Hey, you used to think you understood the world in this way, but honestly, that's not the way that God sees the world." And so our view begins to change. But here's the challenge. If you and I are not open to the Spirit's guidance, if we're not open to the Spirit's leading, if we're not open to the voices of others who are further along in their spiritual journey, then what we will find is we will close our mind. And though we may have this great vision where God wants to teach us something new, when Cornelius's servants get to our house, we shut the door. And we don't know. And we choose to be ignorant. Like I said, I choose to be ignorant with how hot dogs are made because I'll still eat them. However, if there ever comes a day when I don't choose that ignorance, well, probably that day's not going to come. But when it comes to my faith and when it comes to your faith, I hope you and I will not choose ignorance. I hope you and I will be open to the Spirit's leading. I hope we'll recognize that sometimes what we've thought we've known for a really long time, frankly, it could just be dead wrong. And it may be counter to what Jesus desires for us to see or to understand or to know. And so may you and I be open to God's Spirit and His leading these days. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.